Hey, what's going on, guys? How you doing?
We're living the dream. Have you seen that Bob Dylan movie yet? The Complete Unknown?
I have not. I'm not a
Oh,
big movie goer, but
yeah. I just think
most
you'd
Dylan,
like it.
What
You're a
yeah,
singer
yeah.
songwriter. It would be perfect
what
for
have you
you.
been doing
Well,
anyway?
well, Dylan's probably one of my be all end alls, but I will
Yes,
say that, and most Dylanologists I thought would frown upon it, but most Dylanologist friends of mine have told me I have to see it, so I'll see
yes.
it. I'll see it
You
eventually.
must see it.
But now you're on the
Uh,
road covering the Bulls.
yeah,
And tonight,
a
big one
complete
against the
unknown.
Celtics. Yeah, the great definitely. Well played. Well played, KC. How big is this next week for Arturas Karnisovas?
I mean, it's huge because, he has said publicly multiple times that they're not done making changes. He's trying to make change. He wants to make change. And this is a difficult landscape in which to make change. But this is when things get serious and opportunities that may not be present currently present themselves. And I personally see a management team ready to act. So we'll see if they can find the right match. And I mean, it's clearly a lot of pressure on him to make some changes because they're currently stuck in the middle where they have been for a long time.
I got to tell you, I don't know how to feel about the amount of pressure on AK to get something done, because in the past we've seen that he did not feel any pressure to get anything done, and he didn't want to get pressured into an Alex Caruso trade at the trade deadline or whomever it might be. Now you keep hearing these rumors about whether Vooch could wind up somehow in Golden State if Jimmy is Jimmy. We got to get to him. If Zach is somehow going to wind up in Milwaukee, that seems insane to me. But will there be something drastic that happens here? And has his thinking changed in terms of what he's willing to kind of do to get anything done?
Yeah, that's the part that is unknown. I mean, like, currently what you hear from the teams that I talk to around the league is that his asking price is high, and
Yeah.
that's not a bad stance to have at this stage. But as you get closer, does he drop that price just to make a deal? I mean, I would say the critical difference to point out between this trade deadline and previous ones, from my view anyway, is that in previous deadlines they didn't make a move because he wasn't sure he wanted to. If they don't make a move this year, it's because they just couldn't find a deal. And I'm not making excuses for the management team or the Bulls. What I will say is that, particularly of contracts, and certainly in the case of LaVine and a little bit in the case of Vucevic, in this day and age with boring CBA minutia, aprons, first apron, second apron, it is harder to make trades. That's just the simple fact. Now, yes, Brooklyn has got out in front of this and traded Dennis Schroeder and Dorian Finney-Smith. Now, those contracts were smaller, and in Schroeder's case, wasn't expiring. So, again, that's the critical difference to me. He wants to make change. He wants to make trades. Will they find a partner? I don't know the answer to that.
Let's just remind people, maybe hit a reset here because whiteboard it for us, Casey, because what's the purpose that they for trading at this point? Is it because they want to finish the season as poorly as possible so they can protect that number 10 pick? Or can they accomplish perhaps doing both because they can be among the 10 worst teams and be in that sort of murky middle? Restate the purpose for why they would want to unload at this point.
Well, I mean, they have said publicly the opposite at media day, that the draft pick is not guiding them. I would posit to say that's not fully accurate. I mean, look, if you're in a rebuild situation or a retool situation or whatever you want to classify this, you've started to change the makeup of this team with the trade of DeMar DeRozan and Alex Caruso. So this is, by all accounts, a strong draft. If you are retooling and adding young players and trying to develop young players, you need to keep that draft pick. So they're not going to make a bad trade just to get bad, but the whole purpose is to try to, if you make a trade that helps your chances to keep that top 10 pick, that's the goal. And, I mean, Vooch and LaVine are playing at all-star level, but where is this franchise going with them playing at all-star level, right? So that's the question that management is asking itself. That's the calculus they're using with which to approach this trade deadline. And, that's why the entire league is, the Bulls are one of the main teams that the league is focused on. Detroit's another one because they've got cap space. Toronto's another one because they can be a conduit for trades. Brooklyn was before they made the 2 deals, but the Bulls are in the focal point, as is Miami, obviously with the Jimmy Butler situation.
I'm curious about the Jimmy Butler situation. I mean, there's a certain level of insanity to it, isn't there? I mean, Jimmy's had an amazing career, but it seems like everywhere he's been, he leaves under bad circumstance, right? It's been repeatedly like Jimmy heading out of town, and I don't know how many more of these he's got left, but he clearly wants out.
Yeah, and I mean, it's, a movable, stubborn force in Pat Riley versus a movable, stubborn force in Jimmy Butler. That's basically what's playing out. Look, Miami got 2 NBA Finals runs and appearances out of Jimmy Butler. He's played at an incredibly high level, but it's broken. And yes, he has a shelf life. We saw that play out here to some extent, although he did not want to leave here. That's the critical difference between Chicago and Miami. But this has followed Jimmy around, and he's probably going to get his way because this has become an untenable situation. Now, will he get his way to get a trade to Phoenix? That's where things get dicey and tricky because obviously Bradley Beal holds all the power in that equation. But I can't see Miami doing this song and dance suspension for the rest of the season. So I expect Jimmy Butler to be moved by next Thursday.
Patrick Williams responded to getting benched with one of his best games of the season the other night without Zach and Kobe White tonight. Will he continue to come off the bench, and do you think that is his best role moving forward?
The latter is an emphatic yes, and I think that Billy would have been preferred to. And he still may come off the bench tonight. I'm about to head over to shoot around here in Boston shortly. What I would say is with Zach away from the team for personal reasons and Kobe's status still uncertain, he may have to be inserted in the starting line, particularly with who Boston starts at the other end. They've got some pretty good wings in Tatum and Brown, so maybe it's a one-game thing where he goes back into the starting lineup. But I think Billy and the coaching staff hit on something, and quite frankly, I think Patrick hit on something because every time he goes to the bench, what he talks to us about is how he feels like freer there and sees more opportunity there. And so he looked like a completely different player to me. And what I loved about it even more, and I reported this in my pre-tip hit on our network, I was told, because we found out the starting lineups after we talked to Billy pregame, and I was told when we found out that he got moved to the bench that Billy was not above using him to close, and that's exactly what he did. So I love that. He didn't start, he played aggressively, and then he closed, and he was one of the key critical pieces of that victory. So good for Patrick, and yeah, maybe they've hit on something here. And but tonight I would expect him probably in the starting lineup tonight against Boston.
What's your take on the idea that Bradley Beal rejected any kind of trade to the Bulls? Is that him not wanting to play in the cold, as he said? Is that him wanting to win without having to do anything? I mean, that's got to be the worst contract in the league right now because they're desperate to get rid of him, but he holds all the cards.
Yeah, well, multiple things. I mean, the first thing to emphasize is there's no guarantee the Bulls would make that trade even if Bradley Beal did waive his no trade clause to come to the Bulls. I think people are assuming that that's a done deal if Bradley Beal waives his no trade clause. I think it's still an internal decision to make, and would certainly have to be sweetened with extensive draft capital. So that's a pretty complicated deal because I think multiple teams would get involved. But let's posit, that Bradley Beal does say, yeah, I'll waive my no trade clause, and there's enough draft capital in there to give the Bulls, consideration there. What I would say is, Bradley Beal has a no trade clause for a reason. He has that power, and he does have obviously a relation with Billy Donovan. And things that are said now, can change in a week. I mean,
right.
the Miami Heat put out a statement saying we are not trading Jimmy Butler. 10 days later, they put out a statement, we are trading Jimmy Butler. I mean, this is that's how the league works. It's fluid. So I don't put much stock into what he's saying now. If he releases a statement, at noon on next Thursday saying I'm not waiving my no trade clause, then it's different, But there's a lot of time between now and next Thursday.
Just so we understand it correctly, besides Matas Buzelis, everybody else on the Bulls roster is a possibility to be traded. Will teams ask about everybody but Matas?
I mean, I wouldn't even put Matas untouchable. I mean, we're putting Matas but Buzelis untouchable?
No,
I'm just
wondering.
The only untouchable I've ever covered is Michael Jordan.
Okay, Jerry. All right.
No, I mean, I'm just saying, if the right deal comes along and Matas has to be a piece in it, I mean, you're crazy not to consider that. So, no, there are no untouchables on this roster. What I would say is, yes, it's not just Vooch and Zach and Lonzo extensive. This is more boring CBA minutia, but the Bulls are in a little bit of a pickle with Kobe White and Ayo Dosunmu because they were heralded for signing them to bargain deals, and as they should be. But a new stipulation in the CBA limits you to extending them at 140% of that number. They both outplayed those contracts well for beyond 140%. Do you proactively get out in front of that and trade one of those guys before they hit restricted free agency next summer? I mean, these, again, are the questions you have to think in long-term situations as a front office. So, yes, everybody's in play for the Bulls, and they are considering everything.
Real quickly,
that sounds like management speak. We are considering everything.
No, I understand what you're saying. Real quickly, though, what would be the market for Josh Giddey?
Oh, God.
No, nothing.
Okay, I'm just curious because
there's not a chance. I'm guessing you could get more for Alex Caruso if you could get him back. Oh, boy. There you go. That's editorial commenting. Casey, thank you, buddy. Great stuff.
All right, gentlemen. Thanks, man.
Keep up the good work.
Enjoy Boston. See you, buddy. That is Casey Johnson. I want him to see that movie. I picture him sitting around playing his guitar.
Oh, he'll love that movie. You just ask about everybody because you just don't know who's asking about anybody.
I love that answer about Buzelis. Why would he be the guy that is? I mean, I agree with him. I mean, I'm not looking to move him, but I just saying, who on that team would you not want to trade? You trade anybody.